Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Brickey here with our weekly look around what's happening at the Disneyland Resort. This time, downtown Disney, the hotels, and everything else we can find that's new this week at Disneyland. Friends, you can't keep me away from an active construction site. I had to dip into DCA and see what's happening in my new favorite land, San Francisco. And you can see that the Pacific Wharf Bridge that goes across, last week I showed you the cuts in the concrete and predicted that that was probably them cutting out the base below the water level to put in those vertical structures that are going to make this look like the bridge in one of my favorite movies, Big Hero 6, where they go to San Francisco. And you can see just a week later that those structures are really coming into shape. There's something there important enough that they wanted to tarp off. If we look at the top, we can see that it's like a tabletop and it's flat, meaning that they've created a base where that very ornate Golden Gate Bridge style design is going to snap into there. And there's one on the Pacific Wharf side, and then there's one also over on the Performance Corridor. So it's very fun to see just a week later this taking place. And I believe the poet Kenny P. Rocks, Disneyland president, said, this is going to happen way faster than what we're imagining. And by looking at this, I would agree with the poet, Kenny P. Rocks. Fun to see this all coming together. And I know this is a downtown Disney update, but keep me away from the construction projects. I dare you. I dare you. There's no way you can do it. Nobody can, except for Disney if they told me to stop filming. Please never tell me that. As I was packing my camera up from shooting the construction here, I just had an amazing Disney moment I wanted to share with you. A family of like 5 were walking by, and I heard their kids audibly get excited about the first time that they saw the Mickey Fun Wheel. Like, they were just beyond themselves seeing it for the first time. And then when the kid was like, wait a minute, some of those are swinging. We're not gonna get on the swinging ones, are we? My kind of kid. I just love being here, and being here solo allows me to listen and observe everything around me, and seeing people experience the Disney magic for the first time, it is something that absolutely never ever gets old. Oh, what's up, bud? How you doing? You want to be in the vlog? You like seeing people enjoy Disney magic for the first time? So to the family that just got excited about seeing this for the first time, to somebody who's seen it 1,000 times, thank you so much for helping me fall in love all over again. My homie, that bird. It's no surprise to me that La Brea Bakery went away. Now, I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. My disappointment comes in that this was a place where typically I could sit down and eat a meal before going into the park and ripping it. It had a nice L-shaped patio that wrapped around the restaurant, and typically I could always get a table there. It was table service with refills, very, very nice cast members, and a menu that was pretty good. About, a dozen different items. I tend to pick the same ones over and over again, but it was my go-to spot. But everything I've just described is the problem with this location, in that this is the best location one could have in downtown Disney. You're right off the Esplanade. You have the outdoor patio, an indoor dining area, an indoor grab-and-go spot, and then a massive, massive patio on the edge of the Esplanade. With that much seating and being placed right here, there is no reason why this place wouldn't always be slammed, other than the fact it didn't resonate with guests. When we go far, far down and look at Tortilla Joe's, Ralph Brennan's, places that are slammed all the time that don't have the same amenities, it goes to show La Brea Bakery was just a miss with most guests. That being said, Disneyland's understudy, their backup quarterback, is ready to jump in. Earl of Sandwich launches today again at the Downtown Disney Resort. But don't worry, Earl, who's always here to pick up the Disneyland scraps, is just taking the spot for Porto's, which will then be in this location, and we'll learn at that moment, was it a doomed location or a doomed business? Because Porto's is insanely popular. This one is going to create a Disneyland frenzy, and this one, and what's the name of that Asian restaurant that's coming, that's over in the South Coast Plaza, that's absolutely impossible to ever get a table at South Coast Plaza, put it inside of the Disneyland Resort, and that's somehow going to make it easier? Boca de Chao? I know it's not Boca de Pepo. I don't know the name of it because, quite frankly, I've never dealt with it. And that and Porto's are going to add a lot of insanity to downtown Disney. 2 new locations with high demand. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But La Brea Bakery is gone, and one of the best locations you could have in downtown Disney, set empty only for a month when the backup QB, Earl, said, "Put me in the game, coach. I'm ready once again to serve affordable sandwiches." And just so you know, there's going to be a virtual queue to get into Earl's every day, or you can lightning lane your way into Earl's, but they're doing this because there's a whole group of people called Earlies. They like to get here, they like to line up, they like to get all the first sandwiches. So to keep it very friendly, Disneyland unfortunately is kind of squashing the Earlies, and just shout out to the Earlies. I know there's so many of you out there, and I happen to know the president, Tony Mendez. Friends, very, very far down the aisle here from me, you can see that the Wonderground Gallery and the home store, the Disney home store, are each closed. And what's interesting, as this project has taken shape, we can see that it appears that they're going to use that tower on the far eastern side to turn into a staircase that will allow guests to go up into the second floor. As you remember, the Wonderground Gallery always had posters hanging up in that extra loft space that we would see as we walked in and out of downtown Disney. And it appears for now that they're going to try to go in there and make that a usable space, which would make me think that probably the entire building might become one store or a combination of both. But I could definitely see the home store taking advantage of having a loft second floor, as well as the art gallery. So it'll be interesting to see how this transforms, but right now it appears that it's going to go into a multi-tier experience. Moving further down, we see Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen. I think I'm the only person that's in favor of this design change. Before, it was loud, it was New Orleans, and it also just didn't fit in with everything. And I know a lot of people would like for every building to be its own identity, but I'm of the mindset that I like the idea of downtown Disney becoming mid-century modern, everything matching, everything being cohesive, versus just a grab bag of different ideas, which makes me think that at some point, Tortilla Joe's, you're next, because you're now the complete odd duck on the strip. But it seems that they're starting over on this side to condense all the resources in those buildings that touch each other. As we move even further down, yes, the monorail is still open, but you'll notice that there are scrims all around the outside. Spying through the green canopy there with my eyes and not filming, it appears to me that they're going to open up that walkway. You remember there used to be a dead-end cul-de-sac with a handful of different benches that you could sit in there and kind of get away from things. I feel like they're going to make that a more direct route into the Star Wars Trading Post versus making guests go all the way past it and then hook back around in the opposite direction. The Trading Post is really great when you're coming in from downtown Disney, but it's hard to see when you're coming away from the parks. So as we can see, there is a lot of activity happening over here, a lot of different locations kind of improving and hopping around. And this is the warm-up act of what's getting ready to happen to downtown Disney, as we're gonna see the western end of downtown Disney transform pretty quickly. But right now, a year after the buildings were still there, this time last year, you could see that the buildings were still in place. That entire block existed. They went pretty rapidly to tear it all down, but nothing has really taken place. There's been some soil work. They've worked on the elevations of the ground. I've also seen them lay in some of the plumbing and conduit that would need to go in there. But right now we have zero vertical construction, which is pretty wild, based on how fast they ripped all that apart. Like, they had to get it done immediately, and nothing has happened since. In fact, just a few months ago, I heard that they were applying for construction permits. So it says to me the teardown was them squeezing that into a quarterly budget. Like, let's get it all ripped out on this money that we have, reserved over here, and use that money, and then we'll deal with everything that happens next. But right now, definitely some wild times with the western end of downtown Disney. But as I said, it's only gonna get crazier from here. And I'm here for it, to cover it every month, to bring you along. So friends, if you enjoy seeing the SimCity aspect of the Disneyland Resort, do me a favor and let's subscribe to the channel right now and be a bud. I appreciate your friendship and you following along. I'll work real hard for you. I'm standing in front of the Paradise Pier Hotel, which will soon be the Pixar Place Hotel. But as you can see right now, the front has become the back, as they are completely redoing the front of this hotel for its big transformation. There is no longer any entry to the front of the hotel, and I mean no entry. You can't pull a vehicle up, you can't walk in, and even when you are inside of the hotel, it's a dead end and there's no way to access the old lobby, which is interesting because you can see one of the convention spaces or rented halls in the building has been converted over to guest services, where there is a small snack shop, a little place to sit while you're waiting to get checked in or waiting to leave or come and go, as well as all the check-in guest services in a Lunar New Year photo op. They now have guests coming in the exit, former exit, the back side of the hotel that faces the parking garage. And as you can see, the back of the building hasn't been painted yet, and the front is in various different levels of painting and detailing. But then we see the, whoa, slow down, you're not racing yet, hotel stripes on the side of the hotel, which they did this early, and I've seen Disney do this before. I wouldn't be surprised if that is some sort of a test to see how it looks. We've all seen Disney several times paint something, look at it, and then test and adjust. So if you're not a fan of it, I'm gonna tell you that it might not be forever. The first time I saw it, I'm like, what is that? But it has grown on me. And across the front of the hotel, all of the suns have been removed, where soon we will see the Pixar balls go in replacement of it, and the exact same metal just repainted from sun to ball. The hotel is really in an interesting transformation period right now, and I would say that if you're not getting an extremely good deal to book a room here, maybe this is not the hotel to stay at, because there are better hotels steps away that are off property that are half as much. When we look out into the parking lot, we can see this metal structure that's been put around like what appears to be a huge HVAC sort of brain for the hotel operations. This had scaffolding around it forever, and what they were doing was building this metal frame to sort of hide the nastiness, and I appreciate that attention to detail. This hotel is going through a lot. You cannot even come into the front on car or foot, and it has pretty limited amenities right now. And one of the best things about this hotel, it's Palm Springs style, LA style swimming pool and outdoor amenities, and I'm not quite sure if that's accessible because it didn't really see a way to get there. So good things to come, but for the moment, weird things. Behind me, you can see the Disneyland Hotel has fully transformed over into its new blue on blue color palette. But if we look around, we understand that at Disneyland, and especially with the hotels, just like the rest of the park, nothing is ever completed, nothing is ever finished. One project just gives birth to another project, and we can see two that have popped up in front of the hotel. Let's start on the bottom level, where you can see there are construction walls now going down the entire east direction of the hotel, and those construction walls go on for quite some time. However, if we spin around 180 degrees, we can see out in the main parking lot, there's a massive tent that has been erected. That's been there since around November, December. When I first saw it come up, I go, that's a weird place for a Disneyland wedding, but it's not for a wedding, friends, it's for your luggage. And as we can see, one of the Disney cast member bellhops taking luggage over inside of the tent. I don't film in there because it's backstage, but inside as I walked by, the front was open and I could look in with my own eyes, and it's basically just a warehouse for them to store all the luggage. And you gotta think, what makes Disney hotels different than other hotels is probably the sheer quantity of people that either get there really early or keep their bags there really late the day of checkout so that they can, you know, do a full day of ripping at the park and then check in, or on the inverse, put their bags in there in the morning, do a full rip and grab their bags at the end of the night. So fun to see those two little projects developing outside, as well as the blue on blue color palette is complete. Friends, what do you think? Are you digging the blue on blue? blue. I like it, and I really enjoy the red Disneyland logo over on the far side. It looks fantastic in the evening. That red really pops on all of the blue. Let's move over and get a good look at the DVC tower that's being built behind where we're standing right now. We can see the stair stepping that is the new DVC tower. And from what I've come to learn about DVC is there's a very, very limited supply of hotels and points available in California. So this is hopefully going to add to the much needed supply for the very high demand for DVC members, existing and new members out here on the West Coast. I've also come to understand that the DVC system's pretty rad. I don't think I'm ever going to get Beth to pull the trigger on it, but if you're a hardcore Disney vacationer, there is a lot of perks to it. But let's move on and look at this structure. As you can see, its biggest tower is facing the park and the cul-de-sac of the other three towers, the Fantasyland, Adventure, and Frontier Tower. And we can see this fourth tower, its main part of the structure faces that cul-de-sac. And then behind it, we see several different structures stair-step their way back to Walnut Street. This is designed to create the most optimal sound flow from the hotel to the residents that live full-time on the other side of Walnut Street. On the back side of this tower will be where the DVC members' pool and amenities are. Those will be only available to DVC members. So of course they can swim in the pool with all the other guests, but they'll have their own special DVC area in the back. Putting that in the back creates a space between the entertainment and the buildings, lowering the amount of audio reflection that will go over to the guests. Because the last thing Disney wants is a loud guest experience that has ruined things for the residents' experience. So this entire building is done in Disney problem solving to make sure they make the most of this small piece of land, keeping really three customers happy. Does this not ruin the stay for the regular hotel guests? Does this up the stay for a DVC member? And does it not also ruin the experience of full-time residents that live on the other side of Walnut Street? But zooming in, we can see workers at all various levels going up and down elevators. They are moving on this project extremely fast, and it's been a really fun one to watch because just a year ago, we were looking at dirt, a little bit of dirt over the top of a privacy fence, which was all that we can see. And now we see a pretty fleshed out skeleton of a future hotel tower to come. Friends, will you look at this nice new Disneyland Hotel carpet that just popped up, or rug or floor mat? I'm not really sure what you would call it. But if you remember, just 1 week ago, this was in front of the Disneyland Hotel, and now the Disneyland Hotel is fully decorated out to celebrate the 100 years. And let me give you a quick pro tip. This is a great selfie photo spot if you're looking for a way to celebrate the 100, or that perfect pic of you casting your own Disney magic. Hold it up high and smile. Friends, this project behind me is definitely what we were speculating that it was for a long time. First, when we look from above, from the Mickey and Friends parking structure, actually strike that, that's the Pixar Pals parking structure, but you know what I'm saying? They share the same spine. We look down, we can see that this is a loading station for all kinds of building supplies and materials that they're probably running over to the Disneyland Hotel proper, where, as we all know, they're building the DVC tower. But as we had speculated for quite some time, you can see that this structure, beyond a doubt, is what we thought it was. It's a sample of what they're building over at the DVC tower. It makes sense to build something like this at a lower level so that you have samples, so that various construction workers can come through and see how different things are done. And also, I'm going to assume at some point it will be possibly an area where guests can go in and look around before they pull the trigger on a big purchase. So yeah, this is what we thought it was. A sample of what's to come over at the fourth tower that will complete the Disneyland Hotel, the DVC tower. And what's interesting is if we look at it from behind, they put the facade on both sides. And there's also this rainbow area that's on the lower left. So they really went all out. It looks like they maybe threw everything that they're going to be doing over at the tower onto this structure. What started out as a simple wall is now a complete structure sitting inside of one of the parking lots. That's what we call progression. Friends, I hope you enjoyed our weekly update going around the Disneyland Resort, finding everything that's new. This week, focusing in on the hotels, downtown Disney, a little bit of construction happening over in DCA, and some new stuff that we found inside of Disneyland. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me. If you had a good time, I'd hope you'd consider subscribing to the channel and becoming my friend. I promise I'll work extra hard to entertain you and keep you informed. Thank you so much for showing up. I can't wait till the next time I see you hanging out in downtown Disney. This is designed to create optimal, a bee literally just landed on my microphone. Go on, you. This is designed